Graders, we've been working on realistic fiction. So remember, in realistic fiction, it's a fake story that could happen in real life. We've been thinking about how can we write our beginning, middle, and end to our story. And those parts of our story are called the structure. Do you have those parts in your story? Today, what we're going to do is we're going to start working on elaboration. Elaboration isn't so much do you have those parts of the story, but how good are the parts? So today what we're going to do is we're going to think, can I elaborate in my story in your realistic fiction story? What we're going to do is we're going to be using a new checklist today, and we're going to be looking at how we can use a checklist to add into our story. So today what you're going to need is you're going to need your planning sheets, you're going to need your realistic fiction story that you've been writing, and our new checklist for today. You're going to notice I'm going to be using a different color pen today for my writing. The reason why is because I'm going back and I'm revising my writings. So what I want to do is I want to see if I can show you what that looks like when you're revising. You do not need to use a different color pen when you're revising if you don't want to. So you'll notice I have my story and I have my checklist. Let's learn about the checklist today. Today our checklist is about elaboration, which means adding more details and information. It means bringing your characters to life with details, dialogue, and actions, creating tension with the problem getting worse. So this is a picture of things that you could think of when you're thinking about elaboration. We really want to bring our characters to life, and we do that by adding in more information. What it could look like is an action. The characters are doing something. It could look like details of what they look like or what they feel like. It could look like dialogue, using said or any other way to show dialogue, like yelled, cried, or thought. It means including quotation marks when you're using dialogue, and it means potentially you could use a cliffhanger, which you show by using an ellipses. So an example of this elaboration is, when they arrived, Billy parked the car in the first spot she could find. Then she opened the back door and exclaimed, "Let's go, Pop." Banjo sprung out like a jack-in-the-box. Finally, they were ready to go, but just as they got started, and this is the ellipses right there. So you can tell that the author really wants you to wait until the next page to know what's going to happen. So let's look at our story. The first thing that I tend to do when I'm starting to elaborate on my story is really read through my story every time I pick it up. So since today's a new writing day, I'm going to pick up my writing, I'm going to read it again, just to remind myself of what I wrote about. And then as I'm reading, I can get some new ideas of what I want to add. One rainy day, Will and Annie were playing together in the living room. "Wow, this is so cool," said Annie. "I can't believe we get to play with these toys," said Will. They were so excited to play with their new toys. Annie reached for the toy in front of Will. "Hey, I was playing with that," Will yelled, and he yanked it out of her hands. "Well, it didn't look like you were playing with that," Annie said. Then they glared at each other. "Ah!" Will yelled. Annie and Will started to really argue when Annie grabbed the toy. Neither were willing to let go and give in. They were getting really mad at each other. Then Annie let go of the toy and took a deep breath. "Why are we fighting about this toy?" she said. Will breathed out. "I don't know," Will said. "We can solve this problem, right? Let's calm down first." Finally, they were ready to talk. "What if we take turns?" Will said. "I like that idea. Do you want to go get a snack together?" Annie said. "That sounds awesome." They learned that it is always kind to share. So now I'm thinking, how can I use this checklist to elaborate in my writing? I really want to think about, as I was reading, what did I think I needed to add to make sure that my reader could really paint a picture in their mind. I think that I have a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of Will and Annie talking to each other, so I don't think I need more dialogue. I might want to look at my dialogue tags and change out said and make it one that's more specific to what they're saying instead of just said. But I really want to think, how can I bring them to life? I don't really have a lot of action right now. My characters aren't doing much other than talking. I remember there's one part where she Will yanked it out of her hands, but that's pretty much the only action. So I think today I'm going to really focus on the action of what my characters are doing. So now I need to think, where do I want to add that in? One thing you could do is, if you don't know if you really want to change something in your writing, you could always get a sticky note and put your revision on your sticky note and then stick it on your writing. One way you could do that is so you could see, is this the way that I want to change it, or is there something different that I want to do? So that's a strategy I'm going to use today for my revising. I think on this first page, I really need to add in more action. I really need to add in more things that they're doing. So maybe I think, what could they be playing with? That could be, what could it sound like? What could they be playing with? And I think I want to add that Will and Annie were playing together on the living room floor. And I want to say, I think I want to put Will was lying down on the living room floor. Because then he's not just playing together in the living room, then he's lying down on the living room floor. And Annie, maybe I put Annie was sitting on the couch. One of the nice things is, because I'm putting it on a sticky note, I'm kind of getting some new ideas out there. It doesn't mean that it has to be the one that I choose. It's just an option. What I could also do is I could think about what it looks like and feels like. I know that it says a rainy day, so maybe I take another sticky note and I think about what a rainy day could look like. I know if it's raining, then it might be cloudy, it might be dark. You might be able to hear the pitter patter of the rain on the window. So maybe I say it was a dark and stormy day. I could say Will and Annie could hear the rain pitter patter on the window. So I'm going to move that one up here. And I could reread and think, now do I like the story? It was a dark and stormy day. Will and Annie could hear the rain pitter-patter on the window. I could say they were lying down on the living room floor instead of Will and was lying down. I could say Will and Annie. I could do that. So Will and Annie were lying down on the living room floor. And then I can cross this out. So this is just one way, friends, that you could use sticky notes to help you revise your writing. But I still want to do this on every page in my book. So I want you to think, how can you use this elaboration checklist to help you elaborate in your writing? How can you add more details so that your reader can really picture what it looks like in your realistic fiction story? Good luck!